President. We're proud to have him here. So we welcome you all, and I'm always happy to chat about great things at the City of Lansing, but today is the day when the governor is going to talk about things for the state. Before we get to our wonderful governor, I'm going to introduce Kimberly Coleman, who is our Director of Human Relations and Community Service. She's going to talk about some of the impacts that this bill and these dollars have on our residents. Kim?
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning and greetings to the Honorable Governor, President Whitmer, Mayor Andy Shore, Brian Crenshaw, Commissioner, and esteemed colleagues. My name is Kim Coleman, and I am Director of the City of Lansing's Human Relations and Community Services Department. Our department serves as the fiduciary for the COVID Emergency Rental Assistance Funds provided by Michigan State Housing Development Authority for Ingham County. I'm here today to speak about the importance of this program for the citizens we serve. It cannot be overstated how vital these funds have been and continue to be in preventing evictions during this pandemic and in the future post-pandemic world we all hope to experience soon. At the beginning of the pandemic, our shelters and homeless service providers of the Capital Region Housing Collaborative came together with the city, county emergency operations centers, county health department, and others to ensure that individuals and families without homes would have the same opportunities to stay safe from COVID as those who were housed. With little regard to personal risk, the agencies acted quickly to prevent the spread of COVID among the homeless population by opening a temporary shelter to provide more space for the existing shelter population, ensure social distancing, shelter and provide meals for unsheltered persons. They conducted COVID screening, health referrals, and provided masks and other personal protective equipment. As a result, there were no positive COVID cases in local shelters for the first 7 months of the pandemic. At the same time, these agencies worked tirelessly to implement the CARES Act Emergency Solution Grant programs and state coronavirus relief funds eviction diversion program to prevent thousands of citizens from being evicted due to loss of employment and other catastrophic events of the pandemic. Had they not received this early rental assistance, along with the eviction moratoriums, I cannot personally imagine the number of families who would have been forced into shelters or onto the streets. Thanks to legal services of South Central Michigan and the local courts, Ingham County was recognized as serving the highest number of households in Michigan through the eviction diversion program. 1,091 households, or 2,464 people. In addition, another 164 households, or 413 people, were provided ESG prevention services. And it should be noted that a combination of ESG and CARES Act funds served 109 households in the first 5 months of 2021. So the need continues. If there is a silver lining to COVID, it is the clarity that our community is better off preventing homelessness rather than dealing with its aftermath, which includes disruption of schools and work, job loss, and loss of housing. In fact, the eviction, diversion, rental assistance prevention programs, and eviction moratoriums resulted in diverting people out of the shelter system. In Ingham County alone, 6 months into these programs, 22% fewer people used the shelter system in comparison to the previous year. The arrival of the COVID Emergency Rental Assistance Funds in February has continued to prevent evictions and facilitate closer partnerships between tenants and landlords. The funds diverted people from shelters and the streets, providing help with rent and utilities, while we return to normal and jobs and incomes are restored. Rental assistance funds target people most affected by the pandemic, those who have lost employment and struggle to pay their rent, provide for child care, support their children in virtual classrooms, and piece together funds to provide meals and clothe their families. Their struggle continues while the economy recovers, businesses reopen, and jobs return, all of which, realistically, will take some time. The service provider systems for the COVID Emergency Rental Assistance Program are in place and ready for the additional funding that has been allocated to serve these families. So with that, Governor Whitmer, we thank you. And we are grateful for your leadership and support during these unprecedented times and for the passage of Senate Bill 37. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, I turn this podium over to the Honorable Governor Whitmer.
Thank you, Director Coleman and Mayor Shore and Commissioner Crenshaw and Director Hertel. I'm glad to be here today. This is another positive thing that is happening, and really excited about it. So, happy summer, everyone. I know we were hoping for a little bit better weather, but that's okay. Thanks to every Michigander who stepped up and did their part, got themselves vaccinated, followed the protocols, supported their families, our communities are safer. We took a big step forward yesterday, and effective yesterday, we repealed masks and gatherings order, the limitations. Effective yesterday, there are no more capacity limits, indoors or outdoors, and I think we can all plan to enjoy the quintessential Michigan summer, free of worry of all the things that we were concerned about a year ago. I'm proud to be here today to sign a bipartisan supported bill that'll help Michiganders keep roofs over their heads and keep the ability to feed their families. This supplemental bill that I am signing today is the result of good faith efforts by members of the legislature and my team to utilize the federal funds that we have to help people in our state. It's a testament to the fact that we can work together, we must work together, because this is how we make a real difference in people's lives right now. Thanks to our collaboration on these federal funds, we are putting money in people's pockets through SNAP and the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. As we all know, this pandemic exacerbated and exposed so many underlying equities that were there, of course, before the pandemic, but we saw them clearer, and we must act with urgency, because these inequities are true here, not just in Michigan, but across our country. And there are few needs that are more pressing than housing and hunger. The $1.5 billion of SNAP benefits that we are sending out today is going to help so many families, including tens of thousands of Michigan kids all across our state, so that they can eat and they can stay healthy as we emerge from this pandemic and begin this great summer. A further $378 million will be going directly to households to help them pay rent and utilities. No one should lose their home, especially in the middle of a pandemic, and I'm grateful that we are able to get this done today. In addition to the funding for housing and for food, we are helping local governments continue providing services and sending disaster relief dollars directly to counties, cities, and hospitals for COVID vaccination efforts, as well as communities impacted by the historic flooding last year in Midland. Local governments have been working tirelessly through this pandemic. They've kept the lights on, they've collected the trash, they've provided internet so kids could learn remotely, and with the money in the supplemental, they can continue their work to support the residents. Additionally, some of the disaster relief funding we have will be going to communities that were hit hard by the Midland flood, as I mentioned a minute ago. I was in Midland at the Dow Diamond, go Loons, yeah, okay, just a few weeks ago, and I was so grateful to meet with local officials, business leaders, and residents. We spoke about the resilience of their communities, even in times of extraordinary colliding crises. You know, people in Midland, just like people across Michigan, we are tough. And as I have said many times over the last year and a half, tough times don't last, but tough people do. A year later, our neighbors in Midland, they are coming back, and today we're proud to send them some disaster aid to help rebuild homes and small businesses. And with the disaster relief funding we have, we're providing resources so that many county health departments, hospitals, and city governments who ramped up their efforts to put shots in arms have additional support. They stepped up for their communities, so we need to make sure that we support them. I want to recognize Speaker Wentworth and Senate Appropriations Chair Jim Stamas for being champions for their local communities as we work to get these dollars out the door. Of course, they both hail from the Bay Area and were personally so invested in making sure we were successful in this endeavor. I hope to continue this spirit of collaboration, because we've got to deliver results for Michiganders all across our state, for small businesses, for families, for our kids as they go back to school. As we look ahead, we've got a lot of work yet to do beyond this great summer, right? We have an unprecedented opportunity to use federal stimulus funds and our $3.5 billion surplus to make lasting, transformational investments in Michigan's families, in our small businesses, and in our communities. There are three broad economic issues we face as we continue navigating this economic comeback. We got to have jobs that can produce and pay higher wages so they can attract applicants and people can take care of their families. We need small businesses that need capital to ramp up hiring and to boost investment in their internal operations. And of course, we need childcare. This remains out of reach for so many Michigan families who have young children, people that want to get back to work, but they simply can't because they have a complete barrier for childcare options for their kids. So to address these challenges, we created and introduced the Economic Jumpstart Plan. This is a plan that offers small businesses grants up to $20,000. They can use that for mortgage, for rent, for payroll or operating expenses. We want to fund grants for startups and back community development financial institutions and uplift our smallest businesses that have fewer than 9 employees. And we also propose to invest $1.4 billion in child care in this industry so that we can pay providers and child care professionals more, make 150,000 more kids eligible for low or no cost care, and give all student parents enrolled in the Reconnect or in the Futures for Frontliners access to free or reduced cost child care. So to further support small businesses, we had announced the Back to Work incentive. Under this new incentive, eligible laid off employees can earn that $300 a week as a bonus or incentive for returning to work in the workforce between now and September 4th. Right now, this extra $300 is available to workers who were brought back by their former employer, but I'm calling on the legislature to expand this so that employers who maybe were not the employee's former employer, are you following me? New jobs can be included as well. Expanding it should be a no-brainer, frankly. It's 100% federally financed. There'll be zero impact on the employer's unemployment tax rate or for the state unemployment trust fund. Businesses will be able to hire both new and returning employees to serve their customers and keep up with rising demand. Working people will earn even bigger paychecks to pay for childcare and put food on the table and pay the bills. So this is one of those rare opportunities where we can do a lot of good, but it requires a legislative change. We can also utilize the surplus and federal dollars to make schools safer and to help all students reach their potential too. So together we can provide districts hundreds of millions of dollars to hire and retain more educators, psychologists, social workers, counselors, and nurses. We know we got to wrap our kids with support so that they can be successful, and we've got a lot of work to do because of this incredible disruption in our children's education. We can invest in a weighted foundation formula, which will distribute education dollars more equitably. We can make a one-time capital investment of $500 million to shore up and build up school infrastructure. And critically, we are in a position where we can eliminate the funding gap that has persisted even with the promise of Proposal A back, I think, in 1994. We now, this is almost 30 years later, have the ability to close that gap once and for all. It's something that we need to do. With these investments, I know we can grow our economy and come back stronger than ever in a way that really is about economic opportunity for everyone in this state. So I think we all know that our economic recovery is going to take a little time. But I also know we've got the wind at our backs and we have an amazing opportunity in front of us. The resources that we have can propel us forward and help us get back to normal and to grow stronger in many ways. We have a big task ahead, but it is defined by building, creating, and growing. Building businesses, creating jobs, and growing our economy. After fighting this pandemic that we were all forced to focus on slowing spread and keeping cases low, and later getting shots in arms, it's nice to take on a challenge that calls all of us into this fight to create, to think big, and to do what we can do best here in Michigan, which is work hard and get it done. So I'm excited about the opportunity in front of us, and I think today's supplemental is one step on that path. And with that, I'd like to introduce our Director of the Department of Health and Human Services, Elizabeth Hertel.
Thank you, Governor. And thank you to the state legislature for passing this portion of the supplemental. Today's news is exciting for our department, but more importantly for the thousands of people that we serve in all of Michigan's 83 counties. This has been a difficult 16 months for so many individuals and families. Food security was a concern among adults and children well before our first case of COVID-19. However, our Michigan Food Security Council found a 38% increase in food insecure individuals and a 63% rise among children in this state. As a result, we saw a dramatic increase in the number of assistance applications. No one should have to worry about putting food on the table, ever, but especially during a pandemic. Tools such as our pandemic EBT and emergency food assistance allotments, partnerships with the Michigan Department of Education and Labor and Economic Opportunity, the Food Bank Council of Michigan, community action agencies, and food service, restaurant, and groceries helped individuals, families, and college students alleviate one concern by bridging a gap in basic needs. While we have many reasons to be optimistic, and we are moving away from the challenges of the pandemic, many families and individuals still need a little help as we return to a greater sense of normalcy. Among other things, this supplemental provides the funds needed to continue to support the pandemic EBT. Last year, Michigan was a leader in making PEBT work for our residents as we faced some of the worst COVID-19 trends and closures meant to keep people safe. Other states look to Michigan as an example for this, and now we'll be able to continue the support, giving Michiganders one less thing to worry about as people get back on their feet. MDHHS has received positive feedback from families regarding the impact the PEBT has had on improving food security for them and their children. It also allows us to continue additional FAP benefits that are provided through this emergency allotment. Emergency assistance temporarily increases all current food assistance clients to the max issuance and includes additional benefits worth at least 15% of what they would normally receive. Since March 2020, this means that we have issued more than $1.3 billion in emergency allocations, with funds going directly to Michigan residents. This funding from the federal government provides food purchasing power to eligible people. But it is important to note that it doesn't just boost a household's economic security. It has a positive impact on our state economy, and that is critically important right now. Since SNAP increases a person's overall purchasing power by providing more resources for food, it helps to free up cash for lower income households to buy other essential items. In fact, each dollar in federally funded SNAP benefits generates approximately $2 in local economic activity. On behalf of our clients and our department, we thank you again to the governor and the legislature for supporting this funding allocation. And I look forward to continuing to work with the legislature and our stakeholders to ensure that Michigan residents continue to thrive and have resources and opportunities in the future. Thank you.
All right, and with that, I'm going to sign it, and then we'll do a little Q&A. Can someone tell me what time and day it is?
10:37, June 23rd.
All right. You want a picture of that? All right.
All right, we'll
There
do
you
a
go.
Q&A here.
All right, happy to have some Q&A. Director Hertel, and I know Mayor Schwer would love to answer some questions.
Governor, are you concerned the legislature is gumming up the budget process?
You know, I will say this, we've had a lot of productive conversations. I mean, we've got an incredible opportunity in front of us, and a Herculean task as well, right, to get these federal dollars deployed. This is moving dollars that were sent to us over 7 months ago and deploying. I mean, these are dollars from the Trump administration. We've got billions coming in from the Biden administration. We got to get a budget done too. You know, a year ago, the Consensus Revenue Estimating Conference would have told us that we were facing a $3 billion deficit. This year's concluded we had about a $3.5 billion surplus. We're in a much different position than we thought we would be. And so this is the time where we can really think about transformational investments, things that will really address long-standing issues and get us not just on a path to recover from COVID, but on a real path for improvement and change here in Michigan. And I'm excited about it. I know we've got different viewpoints on what those priorities should be, but I hope and think that people on both sides of the aisle see this economic need and opportunity in front of us. So we're at the table, we're making progress. Sometimes it moves fast, sometimes it feels like you're going a little bit backwards, but we're going to stay at the table until we get it done, and we want to get it done right.
Well, Governor, yes, wait a minute, Governor. You said yesterday that you couldn't get to sit at the table. So which is it? Are they at the table or not at the table?
We are at the table. I don't know what you're referring to.
Didn't you say down in Belle Isle that we can bring them to the table, but I can't get them to sit down?
No, that was in response to a specific question. It wasn't necessarily about where we are with the budget. We're making progress. The conversations are continuing. I'll say that Senator Stamas has had regular and robust conversations with Dave Masseron, our budget director, as has Representative Albert. We've been keeping the Democrats very close and a part of the conversation too. So that's all ongoing. Now, I would love to see this get done by the end of the month, at least the budget piece, not maybe all the federal dollars, which we'll have to continue working on. I don't know if it's going to happen. I think that there are different viewpoints in the legislature on that front, but I still think that it's possible, and it would be great if we could get it done on time.
So what is the problem? Is it about the dollar amount or the philosophy of spending, or they just don't want to give you a win?
We're working through a lot of different pieces to the budget, Tim. I mean, you know how many different departments, how many different priorities that legislators are bringing to the table, and that I proposed in my budget. So there's a lot to continue working through. I don't think that you can put all of it into one category or another.
Governor, you signed a very large supplemental today. Everyone thought, I think, a week or two ago that the K-12 supplemental was on its way too, but it's sitting in the House. Should the legislature just put in the $1,093 for pupil equity payment and get it to you, and placate the superintendents out there who are concerned that because of the Title I emphasis, there was the money?
Yeah. Well, I would like to see the education piece move. I was hoping that I would be signing that today. Obviously, that's not the case. I think that they've got to work through what the final piece, what the final appropriations look like. But, our school budgets start on July 1. These superintendents and school boards across the state are grappling. They know that they've got resources coming in, but they don't know what those look like precisely. They need to hire. They need to hold on to the teachers that are there. They need to wrap kids with support. I mean, there's a lot of important decisions that need to be made post-haste, and this next supplemental is a critical component to their ability to do that. So I'd like to get it to my desk.